conversation with, I think, the two most important words in the English language are the words thank you, and then I nearly said enough. So thank you for your time, and thank you for the work that you are now doing. Ain't the work you used to do, but thank you for the work that you're now doing. What role do white male evangelicals play in changing culture, changing society? We talked about ICE, we talked about Jelly Roll earlier, and sometimes you see a muted voice. I think it all ties in together. What can we expect? What should we expect? And what are we not seeing?
Well, what we're not seeing uh, is some of the change that's happening right now, and a lot of it because of Minneapolis. I just read uh, a report from Christianity Today, which has historically been the journal of record for American white evangelicals. And there's a lot of a lot of uh, disruption in the positions of evangelicals in Minnesota right now because of what they're seeing playing out in the streets. Uh, you know, I hate to say it, but you asked about white evangelicals. I think white males in general get a little more attention from white evangelical leaders. Keen sense of the obvious there. Duh. Been happening for a long time. But the reason I mention it is because, of course, the killing of Alex Preddy, as compared to even the killing of Renee Good. Renee Good was white. She would normally command attention, but discounted by the fact that she's gay, that she was gay. Um, so, but here we go. White, male of a certain age, and a gun owner gets the attention that others don't get. So I think that's part of the reason, but not the whole reason. I think a fair number of white evangelical leaders are now feeling uncomfortable with the violence, with the threats, with the behavior after the shootings, with the abduction of children and their imprisonment in cages. It's starting to trouble the conscience. Not enough to tip the scales, not anywhere near. But it's changing. And I'm sorry for such a long answer to your short question, but I'll just add this. I do think it's critically important now that white male evangelical leaders start airing their conscience and their dissent.
Absolutely.
And I know there are many of them, but they are silenced by fear. But they have to find their courage. And the reason they do is because this administration will pay attention to that in a way they won't pay attention to anyone else. They'll write everybody else off. They're black, they're socialists, they're leftists, they're communists, they're nutcases. But suddenly, when white males like me start speaking, I know from my contacts in the administration, I maintain friends who are working for Trump right now in the White House, and they will say, I got a little attention here. That bothered some people. Not for the right reasons, but it bothered them. So
Reverend
it's a
Shake,
mix.
if I could ask you, there's a conversion moment, biblically speaking, where Saul is converted to Paul. You're talking about finding your courage. I want to know what helped you to find your courage. And in this moment where you're talking about having friends in the White House, knowing now what you understand to be their agenda, how they choose to move forward, how are you maintaining those friendships, and how do you intend to help them to convert from Saul to Paul?
Yeah, well, thanks for framing it that way. I talk about 3 conversions in my own life. My initial conversion to the Christ I saw in the Sermon on the Mount, who blessed the poor, who blessed the forgotten, the marginalized, the lonely, the grieving. Um, then in the 80s, I was converted to what I now call Ronald Reagan Republican religion, which is distinctly different from Christianity. And I spent 35 years in that religious stream doing the kind of work I'm now repenting from. Then I had a third conversion, reading the work of church leaders in 1930s Germany during the rise of Adolf Hitler and his racialized dictatorship. And that was the first crack. There were a few little tiny um, threads before that, but it was really confronting that history and seeing that what I was engaged in for 30 years was identical to what the Evangelische Kirche, the Evangelical Church of Germany, was doing in that era. In fact, it would be evangelical leaders who pronounced Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party a gift and miracle from God to help uh, it was uh, German evangelical church leaders who declared Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party a gift and miracle from God. Well, uh, I was seeing the same. And so that was part of it. The other substantial part of my third conversion out of that right wing cult uh, was my wife, who made a late in life professional change from being an occupational therapist to a psychotherapist. And when you're married to a psychotherapist, you can't escape the therapy, no matter how hard you try. And that was a huge, huge help for me. And then I would enter my own period of therapy, which helped me face myself in a way I never had and the realities of what was going on around me. So that was a lot of it. There was more. It was a long and complex formula equation that got me to the other side, but I'm so glad it did.
When you think about the dates, I was just trying to help me understand some of the time periods of your third conversion, just so I understand where to sort of place my question.
Well, it's been a kind of 10-year progression for me.
Mm-hmm.
Those first cracks appeared in 09, 10, 2010. It was particularly jarring when I attended the 80th birthday party for the now late televangelist Pat Robertson, who's built a right-wing religious empire that continues to this moment. And his guest of honor at this big bash where virtually every white evangelical luminary in this country was in the ballroom celebrating with Pat. And his guest of honor in 2011 was none other than Donald Trump. And I was shocked by that. I didn't think of Trump as part of our culture.
Mr. Two
In
Corinthians.
fact, when I was
You mean
in
Mr.
Bible
Two Corinthians?
college, yes, exactly. And when I was in Bible college, what we call our seminaries to prepare for ministry, way back in the early 80s, I was told that Donald Trump was the classic example of everything it meant not to live as a Christian, and that he makes a great